Hey, how you doing? Welcome to live stream number 64. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today's live stream. If you're watching this, you are watching the recording. Still haven't gotten anybody in the live stream just yet. That will just happen in a few seconds. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Today's topic is drawings basics. So we're going to go into Fusion 360 and we're going to cover pretty much what you need to know about creating 2D drawings. All right, I can see we already got Isaac in here. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to join the live stream. Don't forget, as usual, down in the description area, of the video, you will find my email address, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. Send me any future topics you would like to see on these live streams. All right, let's get going. So let's jump into Fusion here. And by the way, before we get into the drawings, just want to make sure that you are aware, you have an orange bar up here, on Saturday. So this is live stream number 64. It is September 27th, 2017. And this Saturday, September 30th, the servers will be down from 5 till 7 Pacific time. You can still work local. Remember that you can work local. But you will not be able to upload to the clouds for those few hours. But it's a Saturday. Most people should not be working anyways. All right. Let's get into some drawing basics here. So first of all, let's get a model. So I just thought I would go all the way back. So let's use this model here. So I am going to right click and I'm going to copy that over to our live stream folder just to keep the original model. This is the one you can get if you're watching the videos, Absolute Beginner. You can download that data set. So let's copy that over. It's going to take a second for the servers to get up to date. All right, there it is. And let's open up that model and take a look at it. All right, so like I said, this is about 2D drawings. A lot of people have asked me to create this video covering kind of like what is in the 2D package of Fusion 360. And I picked this model because it's kind of an assembly. And I hope some of you guys have already went through and actually modeled it up. So, in here, we have our model. And there's a couple of things I want to show you about this. So if we go down in the drop down, we go to drawings, you will see that there is two different versions. You can go from a design or you can go from an animation. Now, in a previous live stream, we covered how to use our animations. But what we can do with animations, with 2D drawings, is we can create that exploded view that you many times want if it is an assembly. And I'm going to start with that just because I think it makes the most sense. So you have an assembly, you have a couple of different components in there, and you kind of like want to show them how they're put together. So let's go into animation workspace for this. Now, if you remember from our live stream about animations, this is not really rocket science. Just remember, you have this timeline down here, and you need to know that if this timeline is out here and you start moving things around, many times you're kind of like trying to place things, you will see that when I let go, I actually capture that view. And if I hit the play button, you will actually see that I just made that. So that's kind of live down here. Now, the way you get around that, let me just hit it and hit delete on my keyboard. Move it over here in the red area. I don't know what that icon is supposed to show, like a red cupcake. I don't know what it is. And now you can rotate it all you want, and nothing gets captured in here. So I think that's probably pretty important. So what I'm going to do to make my exploded view here for my drawing is I'm going to drag the timeline out here whenever I have the view, and then I can go up here and I can do a transform components. And this is literally just the move command that you probably are already pretty familiar with inside of Fusion. So I can control select two screws here, and I can kind of like drag them up to where I want. I want to keep them within the screen here. Let go and hit OK, and you will see that that down here, it just captured those two screws moving up. Now, if I move the timeline again a little slot, I could go up and repeat the same thing with the lid, and I could move that up to a certain distance and hit OK, and you will now see that that is being recorded here. So now if I hit play, well, we get this. We could also get rotation on the screws and stuff like that, and you can play around with all these different things in here. If you haven't already, you can make things shorter. You can have the lid start moving earlier in the process. You could have it end at the same time two screws up. This is animation, not really. And you can turn it into a video up here. That's not what we're after here. What we're after is for our exploded view for our drawing. So I'm just going to hit the save icon here and give it a name. You should always do that. All right. So now with this, we can go into our drawing, and we can say we're going to create a drawing from the animation aspect, and it automatically knows that that's going to be what is called storyboard. And in here, you can choose to do a couple of different things. It knows the storyboard. You can choose to create a new drawing in here from scratch. Remember that we just did a live stream about how to edit your title block, so that one I actually still have mine in here. We're going to do it from scratch. You can do ISO or ASME. That really depends on what standard you're going to be using. If you're European or American, we're going to leave it at ISO and metric and just hit OK. So now our drawing view opens here, and you will see that our exploded view is brought right in here. So I can click anywhere to place it. And this would kind of like, for this part here, this might be kind of like, think of this as a drawing package that I'm creating here. So this could be like the first page of this drawing package, kind of like show how this thing is assembled. At any point, I can click on the view. I can right click and hit edit view and kind of like get this box back again, so I could make it shaded if that's what I think would look a little bit better. Preference. Another thing that is important to know while we're in this view is that we can use tables. So up here we have a table, so we can place that table, and it'll actually snap to intersections. You will see kind of like see how I get a green square up there? So we kind of like snap into that, what is kind of neat. And we get this table here. I'm going to come back to this table in just 2 seconds. Another thing you need to know is you can create balloons. So you will see here that the table gives us automatically, zoom in, gives us automatically an item 1, 2, 3. It gives us a quantity, gives us part number, what is whatever we call things over here. There's a description area and material. So we can actually balloon things in here. So if I go over and click balloon, we can click, and you will see right next to my cursor it actually says what we want to select component at. So I can select this screw here, and I can place a balloon for that. I can select that one, or maybe want that one too, the lid, and the box itself, and I get these different balloons that are the same as what is up in the description area. So item number 3 is the screws, 2 is the lid, and 1 is the box. So that's perfect. But be aware of that there's a couple of other things you can do up here. You can actually renumber things. So if I click here, it will ask me what number do I want to start on. So think about like if you had a huge assembly, you wouldn't have to start with 1 and go through all of them. But this is a pretty small one, so I'm just going to say that I want this to be number 1, and then it still wants to know what is number 2, so I can select that same one, and number 3 I want to be the lid. And actually what it did was it renumbered everything up here in the part list. So that's kind of cool. So you can do that. Also be aware of you can align balloons, what can be kind of nice. So, I might look at these balloons here. and kind of say that I want to be able to align them. So I selected all of them. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard, and then I can kind of like select I get this line, orange line, visible line, and I can kind of like align them in a way that I think will look a little bit more professional maybe. So I can place them like that. So that is good to know. Last thing, probably should talk a little bit about the part list up here, or the bill of material, whatever you want to call it. So like I said, the item numbers, I think we got that. Quantities, it's kind of cool, it keeps track of everything, right? One thing over here is the material you might look at, and you say, well, the screws could be made out of steel, but this one here is not. This is a plastic conduit box. How do we change the material? Well, it's actually linked back to your model. This is the great things about these 2D drawings, is they actually link back to your drawing. So if I go back to our model here, and let me get back into the model environment. If I right click on the box here and I go down, you will see that we've already been inside of appearances, but there's actually something called physical material. And if you click on that one, you might think that you are in the appearance dialog box. It looks similar, but this actually has signed to the material. So if I go in here to plastic, I can assign material to different components. So maybe ABS plastics. I'm not sure if that's actually what this conduit box is made out of. It might actually be something else, but whatever. So when I click here, if I save this, and again, I always recommend that you're adding this kind of stuff. So version description, changed material. So the steel is material. I can't talk and type at the same time. The steel is default inside of Fusion. But when I go back to the drawing, all right, I clicked a couple of times, so now I probably just made Fusion. All right, there we go. When you go to your drawing, so in here, when I get into back into my drawing, you will see that everything is still steel, but up here I get this indicator that is telling me that the drawing is out of date. So it knows that we saved to version 3 adding the material. So if I click on this little one, you will see that everything updates, including my view, and now we got that ABS plastic. Also important to say that this description also comes from our model in here. So if we, for example, look at these screws, if I right click, so in here we just changed the physical material. We could also go in here, we can change the properties of the part, and in here you will see there is that description. So I actually, if you watch the video where I originally did this, I pulled these out of McMaster. So you can do the same thing, hit OK, go through kind of like the same, saving the thing, go over here, click update, hope that your mouse don't go away. That's kind of annoying. And you'll see that that gets brought up here on the part list that it shows up as McMaster. So that is kind of like the assembly thing. By the way, if you didn't watch the live stream I did on the title block, how to customize this, go and find that. And how you enter anything in the title block is just by double clicking in here, and you get access to all the different fields, and you can insert an image just by double clicking inside of the title box. Here is how bringing that up. Okay. All right. 15 minutes in, let's jump over and actually get into all the different settings that is inside of 2D drawings. So to create another drawing, we can actually just click on the plus sign down here. So this kind of like becomes our overview page, I would say. So let's go in here and click quick add, and we get a new piece of paper to draw on. And I'm going to go up here and insert a base view. That normally happens if you're just creating a drawing directly from the design. So this would pretty much be if we went in here and click from design. Again, we get the option here. We hit OK. Well, let's just do it anyways. and we will end up with another new drawing here. But I actually want, and it already has a base view in it, but I actually want to cancel out of this because I want that extra drawing view down here so I can switch between these two drawings. So I'm going to insert a base view, and it pretty much just pulls in our model here. So be aware of that as a base view, and you will see that you get all different kinds of options over here. And definitely explore the different options in here. You can change what you want to be the orientation. So you can go in here. Right now it's at front. If I went into right, you will see that the view changes for that. I think, without thinking too much about it, I think front works pretty well. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to click wherever I want to place this. I'm just going to click to place it. And then I can hit OK over here in the menu, and I get that kind of like view up here. However, you will see that it's the entire box with the screws and lid I got here. And I actually probably want to break this down into drawings of each individual component, or at least of the box and the lid. The screws we're purchasing, so probably don't need a drawing of those. You can just turn that off the other components over here. So here we can create, by unchecking these, we only see the box. So that's kind of handy. So now I want to create some projected views of this here. So I can go over here. I can click on the icon up here to create a projected view. So it says on my cursor, select the parent view. So I can select that. And as I drag down, you will see that it will now place a projected view down here. And it'll actually continue doing that. So I can also place one over here or over here, depending on what you kind of want to see. You can also show kind of like an isometric view. So actually what I can do here is I can just place this view right here. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to hit enter. And as I'm hitting that enter, you will see that it kind of like creates those different views. Now, what is important to know is that you can always move these around. So this isometric view, for example, if I go up here and click on the move command, I can select that view and then go over and hit the point to point, for example, and then I can move that view up to here. That's where the isometric view normally would sit. And again, I can right click on that. I can select the view, right click on it and hit edit view. And I might decide that I want that to be shaded because it's more like a representation than getting any dimensions from it. I can even choose to go over here and say, well, you know what? I need it to be bigger or smaller or whatever you want in here. Just going to leave that. So now you got that view. And this kind of like goes for the remaining of these here. You can also rotate it actually, what can be kind of handy sometimes if you're bringing something in. If I click rotate and I select that same view, you click on rotate button, and again it finds an axis to kind of like rotate around. So that can be kind of handy if there's certain area you really want to show really well. All right. Next things that you should probably know about, and by the way, I should say this. So when I started out in the industry, I lived in Europe, so I was all into ISO, and then when I moved to the United States, it's all ASME. So I'm not gonna try to fully dimension this part here because I'm probably not quite up to standards, I would think, but that's okay. I'm not sure if I lost the webcam or not. All right, well, you know what? I am not gonna worry too much about it. Nobody needs to look at me. If we are live, then we're going. So next thing over here in the menu is maybe that we want to do some section views. So section views are pretty easy to use. You click on a section view. You click on the view that you want to do the section on, and then you select where the line should go from. Now, I normally like to make sure that it snaps to the area you want. You can see it kind of like tries to snap to it. So we can snap it into to this line here. And I could actually continue if I want to break further through. But then when you're done, just hit enter and you will get that section view. Now, the software is smart enough to know, depending on what way you're looking at this, you will see that if you look at the arrows next to the A, it's looking this direction, and if I move it up here, it looks that direction. So it's smart enough to know in what direction you are you're looking at. And I don't know why I just lost it. Wow, I got all kinds of good computer issues today. So let's try that. Hit enter, and we're gonna place it up here. There we go. And let's go and hit enter here. Now, of course, I can always move it if I want to. Now, this is maybe where somebody who's better at the standard as me will say that's not allowed, but I think it is. So I'm just going to move it down to underneath here. And also be aware of that you can grab these arrows. So we can actually grab these arrows and we can kind of like move them out a little bit if we if we think that that will be more beneficial, like that. So just be aware of that. All right, so that's important. You can also do detail view, what of course is a nice thing too. Click on detail view, and you can select the view you want to do a detail view on, and you can kind of like create an arc around that, and you can place a detail view out on your screen here. So we get a detail view out here. Now the next thing, so we kind of like went through started over here, base view, projected views, we did our section view, what is this down here, detail view, what you can create over here. Over here you can do different center lines, so we can actually go in here, click on this center line here, and we can display by clicking on this edge and this edge that we have a center line through here. We can also click on the next one here to do center marks. So for example, in this view up here, we might want a center mark to go through that. That's important to know. The third option over here is edge extension, what can be really nice. So what that is if you have a radius here, you want to dimension to the intersection, you can select two edges and it will create edges for your dimension to go to. So that is important. I'm going to skip the dimension just for 1 second and talk a little bit about, we can add text over here. So hit text and you can place a note somewhere. So you just click and you kind of like say what area you want the note to be in. And many times these type of drawings have like specific notes in them. So for example, break all edges, maybe leave or consider if it's going to be anodized or powder coated or something like that. So this is the notes you can add. You can do the text font and all that stuff over here. That's good to know. You will also see that you can add text with leaders, or kind of like can be nice on, like if you're looking at these holes here, can place the text out here, and we maybe say that that's an M3 by, and then I would probably do some kind of a text, and you can either do depth, or also be aware of that there is actually symbols you can add in here. So all these symbols, so you can say depth here. That many times you'll see that on drawings too. So now we kind of like have that depth showing up there. So that's happening over here. These symbols over here has to do with either a surface finish. We can give you a V for that. You can also add like datums. So this is called GD&T. We talked a little bit about that in the live stream where we did we talked about tolerances and how to add clearances and things like that. So be aware that those are in there. So you can add a symbol. You can select an edge here, move over, and when you hit enter, you kind of like get this option to add the different GD&T. If you're familiar with that, you can add that kind of stuff in here. and add GD&T in here. So just be a note of that. All right, let's wrap this up with the two last things you need to know about. But we are going to go into the dimensions in here, and dimensions and printing out. We're going to talk about that. So dimensions, you have smart dimensions or whatever you want to call it in here, and this works pretty much like you would inside of working with inside of Sketches. Now, a couple of things I gotta point out though that is important if I just did escape here. First of all, you can click on here and you can move these up and down. You can also grab the leader here and move that around or whatever you want to place it. Now, got a couple of questions about this. One is the overall decimal places after the factor. You can actually control that down here in annotation settings. So if you go in here, you have a linear precision, and you can actually change that to kind of like whatever you want to do. Or you can double click on the dimension itself, and you can change it in here if you want to for that specific dimensions. You can add alternative units, so we can get the inches in there if you wanted to. You can add symbols like we talked about. You can add tolerances in here too. So, again, this is something we talked a little bit about in the whole clearances and tolerance live stream we did a while back. So all that stuff is important to know is in there. Also, maybe this is a good view up here. I'm a big fan whenever I am doing dimensions or drawings is to use the ordinate dimensions. What that means is if you click on this, you will first place kind of like your 0. And then from that point on, I should have placed it on the other side, you can place all the dimensions that kind of comes from that 0. So you will see how it's kind of like adding all these different dimensions in here for us to kind of add in here. So you can do that, and you can also select them all. You can line them all up. The only other one I think, you'll see there's different ones in here. The other one that I think is worth is you can actually add a dimension break too. So you see how these two dimensions kind of like are crossing over each other. Should probably rearrange them a little bit. I could start grabbing, this dimension up here, and I could move that one up a little bit. So that will let me kind of like move these around like this. So I could organize it like this, but you can actually also go in and do a dimension break, and you can select the dimension that you want add a break to, and they will kind of like break the line for that. Other dimension that I like to favor is the baseline dimension. What that really does is just you place a based dimension, and then everything kind of like the same way gets added from that. So if we're selecting this 28 here, then everything is kind of like coming from that. Now it's going to be a mess, but it's going to come from that basic dimension in there. So it's kind of like adding from the 28 to the 39 to the 63. And now, of course, I got text that is all placed on top of each other. But I think you get what I'm saying. And don't forget, you can always move these around and work with these different dimensions like that. All right, we hit the 30-minute mark. We might have some issues with the internet. I'm sorry about that. I definitely lost my camera. But nevertheless, last thing I want to show you is the output. So you can actually, from right in here, of course, I can save it, and it's getting saved into, if I hit save here, I can save this whole drawing into our live stream folder. So we can get that in there, and we can use that, right? But also many times you want to create it as a PDF. And when you do that, you will see that it actually comes up and says current sheet, or all the sheets. You can open up in your PDF reader, and it will print it out as a PDF that you then can print. The last thing also knowing in here that you can put in the DWG in here to post it out as that. I think that's going to wrap it up. It became a little messy of a drawing, but and of course you can also dimension all the detail views and the section views we did down here. Now I'm not gonna come back on camera because I lost my camera. It's just one of these technical difficulties with these live streams, and if we're having some issues with the streaming, then I really apologize for that. Let me know what you think. Hit that thumbs up if you like this. If you don't, thumbs down. I will review this, maybe just record it and put it up. If this is all crap, then I'm sorry for wasting your time. Tomorrow, we are going to be back at our normal time, whatever is normal, 2 o'clock Eastern. So definitely chime in for that. I'm going to do like I normally do. I'm going to end the broadcast and come into the live chat and say hello to everybody. So, hope you have an awesome day. Thank you so much for joining today's live stream, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, guys.